Good day all. Welcome to the next video in which we are going to have a look at filtering data. And filtering data is basically very simple. As the word says, we filter whatever we want out of a set of data, and the complexity comes in the fact where the different types of data that we want to filter. So as mentioned before in previous videos, we have different types of data. Character fields, so we can filter on names and letters and the different combinations thereof. We can filter on numbers, which is the number field, and we then also have dates, which is basically a number, and that is actually all the things that we can filter on, or a combination thereof. So as I said, numbers and dates are the same. Character fields, we can do a whole lot of things, and so let's have a look. The filtering gets done from two places if we have normal data. The first one comes from the home menu option, and in the home menu option right at the end we see the editing section, and in there we have sort and filter. Now at this point in time the filters are on, so I can switch it off. And the second place where we can get it is from the data menu, and in there we've got sort and filter as well, and we can switch it back on. Now when you come from the table, so when we go home and we create a table, then it automatically has filters built in. So these are the different filters. They are little tanks where you can choose what you want to do with the data, and that is when you have a table selected. Now in a previous video I've gone through tables, and we touched a little bit on filtering, and we touched a little bit on slices, which is also filtering, but in a more visual way. So I'm going to, as we saw in the previous videos about tables, I'm going to convert this back to a normal range, and I'm going to select nothing to format this table in no format whatsoever. I can then go back into the table, and from those two places, either from home or data, I can select filter, and now the filters are set. The first thing I want to do is to create this field, which you see is all numbers, into dates. Now later in further videos I will explain the difference between the number and the formatted date and what we can do with it. But at this point in time I've switched on the filters, and I'm going to start with the date. That's why I converted this to the formatted as date. And once we select the tank or the filter, we can see that it's given us a whole lot of options. Do we want dates? I'm going to select nothing. Then I'm going to go into 2019, and we only have a January. If I go to 18, we have 3 months. So it has picked up from the list that I've given it, from the field that I've selected, that there are different years, and each year has got different months. So if I go and select, I've now filtered 2018, and I'm going to select 2019. I'm going to go OK, and I've filtered the data. I have taken away everything else that is not part of the filter. So 2018, 2019, and the others are 2018 as well. That is how I have filtered. I can go back into the filter and take, let's say, 2017. I've now added 2017 in my filter, and the rest is filtered out. I could go into a second filter and say, give me all the males where the gender is male in 2018, 17, or 19. Now you can see that 2019 has disappeared because there are no males that were selected in 2019. So if I go to select females, now I've changed the filter from male to female, and we see that 2019 has returned because there is a female attached to the data where 2019 is selected in the filter. A very nice trick to switch filters off, instead of going select this one, switch it off, select this one, switch it off, is go to the filter, switch it off and switch it back on. Now everything is back to normal. The filters have been cleared and all the filters are back. Later in life, when we're going to program, so we're going to put a button here maybe, or some programming selector where we're going to say, when I click that button, I want the filters to be cleared out. So we could put a button down and say clear filters, and what we're going to do when we press the button, we're going to switch off and switch on. That's all that is going to do. I'm mentioning it as such now, that when we get to the programming, it's not going to be a surprise. So that was the first filter on dates. The next filter is just on numbers. We can, for example, say, let's filter on age, and we want everyone that is 18, 20, or 22. And here we've got filtered out of the whole set of data, which is 72 people. I have filtered everybody younger than 23. Now I'm going to switch on, switch off, and switch on again. And now I can go to, so we selected what we wanted. I can now say give me a number filter, and you see a little arrow, which means right from the beginning I said in these menu items, if you press the arrow, there's more to come. Same here. When I go to H and I press this little arrow, there's more to come, and there it is. So I can say give me everything that is less than, and now I can put it in. So let's say less than 25. I'm going to get a more selection at the moment because I've included, in this case, the 23 and the 24 as well. So I have filtered this data, the whole data, where the age is less than 25. In this case 24 and 23 are included, whereas when I did the switch off, switch on, and I just selected 18, 20 and 22, we had this data selected. So the flexibility, you can also say I want everything in between, and let's say where the age is greater than 30 and less than 50. So now we have all the employees where the age is less than 50 and greater than 30. When we filter like that, you must remember that greater than 30 means we've included 30. If you wanted 30 out, then you would have selected everything greater than 31, but the 50 is not in here. So there's a little trick to selecting data, but you will soon find that the selections that you make are either out or wrong, and you will have to refilter and get the right data. We can, in certain cases, and I haven't prepared it as such, but let's do that quickly. I can say in this data, there, I can go into home. We've done this as well before, and I can say highlight this data where format cells that are greater than, and let's say 40. Now I have everybody greater than 40 has been highlighted. So when I now go in filter, I can say filter by color and filter everybody out by this color, or I can say filter by no fill. Now everybody that is greater than 40 is not included. So the flexibility for filtering becomes greater and more. So let me just switch everything back on. The more you color your data, or the more you emphasize your data, you can filter by the colors and by the text color. So I could also say in this data, let's select the data and go conditional formatting and say everything less than 2000, let's say. No, let's make that 1995. Sorry. Okay, and I want to actually go and manage that rule and say I don't want the fill to be, so I don't want any color there, but I want the font to be red. Okay, and apply and okay. Now when I filter, I can filter by the color of the font. So just now in the previous case, I've sorted by the color of the background, and I can now filter by the font color. Here I can filter by because the font color, you see that the font color here is black and here it's dark purple or dark maroon. You can also sort it, so I can sort it by the cell color, or I can not sort it, sorry. I can filter by the cell background color, or I can sort it, I can filter by the font color. So let me go back to filter and switch on, switch off. Now everything is, oops, yeah. I need to take all the formatting that I've done away. So I'm going to go to the formatting that I've done, manage this rule, and I'm going to delete this rule, and I'm going to delete this rule, and everything is now back to normal. So we filtered on dates, which is a number. We filtered on normal numbers, and obviously the normal filtering can be done by select everything and say select everything with an A. Now I've I've filtered the data where the first name starts with an A. I can go back to data, switch off, switch on, everything is back to normal, and I can also go text filter. Now we saw in the numbers where, let me go there quickly, this is number filter where you get equals to, so everything that is related to numbers where you can calculate, where you can compare it to greater than or less than. Obviously with names you have different options. You can't determine if something is greater than or smaller than. Technically you could, if you convert it to the what I did in previous videos, the video for sorting. I showed that the first letter is, in fact, all the letters have a ASCII value, and you could filter it by that, or you could then everything greater than. But normally when you filter text, you can say, well, everything is equal to or begins with. I can go begin, it must begin with PE, and go OK. We've now filtered only, there's only one in this case, so let's go and have a look at something more meaningful. Yes, let's go to filter, and it must begin with AL. Okay, I've got an Alexander and an Alessandro, and that is now filtered out. So as a text filter, and by the way, to undo, as I said, you can either go select all or switch off, switch on, and that's an easier way, especially when you've got multiple filters selected, that you don't go and have to find out which ones you've set up and which ones you haven't forgotten, because that's the problem is later when you've got multiple filters, that you forget which ones. And especially I've got all the data in one screen, but if you've got multiple screen and you forget which ones you've set, then it's easier to go switch all the filters off and switch it back on, and that is done. So basically we have done text filters, we've done number filters, and we've done date filters. In Excel, those are basically all the things that we can filter on. Formulas, as I mentioned in previous videos, all result in numbers. That's technically not completely true, because if you have text filters or concatenation formulas, they end up in text. But the things that I've spoken about now is text fields. We can filter on text fields, we can filter on normal numbers, and we can filter on dates, which is actually also just normal numbers. I have got formulas in behind the scenes, and this formula results in text. Therefore, I can filter the same as the names and character fields. I can filter on text, so I get text filters that begins with or end with or contains. So all these options I can manually go and select, or I can say I want all the Fridays and all the Mondays, and it gets filtered by the selection that I give. That is basically all that I wanted to say, and in later videos we'll go a little bit more advanced, but for the beginning, welcome to filtering, which is found, as I mentioned, under the home option or the data option, or the filtering also comes with basic when you're in a table. So when you select from the home and you go to format data as a table, the filter icons will there be as well. Thank you very much, and see you in further videos. Goodbye.